sometimes, Matt, just acknowledging that that was not the outcome you wanted to have before they get a chance to acknowledge that that was not the outcome that you wanted to have or they wanted to have. Like just sitting there and saying like, you know what, I this is a stager I've used many, many, many times. I've never had this happen before, but I want you to know I'm not happy with what we're getting from them right now. And I'm looking for other solutions. I'm looking for other options. You know, hell, I might even be buying a couch.
Welcome back, everyone, to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. As always, he is Garrett Frey. I am Matt Bonelli, and we are excited to have you here today. And before we dive into today's episode, I want to remind everybody that we have our business planning workshop series coming up where we help you build a GPS for your life and your business. So we help you guys build a vision that your business can support instead of building a business plan that your life supports, which is like the worst thing in the world. That sometimes we fall into those traps.
Where life support comes from.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, life support. There you go. So go over to 10tenths.co to sign up for that. You guys are going to get full access into our group coaching program during the time that we're running our business planning. It's going to be 4 weeks. It's going to be incredible. And we look forward to seeing you guys there in just a few short weeks. Well, let's get into today's episode, which is going to be fun, Garrett, because we're kind of building on our last episode where we talked about showing up for your buyers and being a true guide and all that kind of stuff. But one thing we didn't really talk about in that episode was, well, how do you repair a relationship when maybe the trust is lost? Because this does happen no matter how great of an agent that you are, no matter how great of a professional that you are. Sometimes we either make mistakes or skip something, or something strange just happens where trust gets broken down. And so we want to talk about how do we repair that so we can keep that relationship going forward and so we can continue to serve those people.
Yeah, we're going to talk about communication today because Matt, you and I, we've talked about this on a lot of episodes over the years of, you know, there's communication with your clients, there's communication with your loved ones, there's communication, when I say loved ones, your spouses and that. There's also a whole separate type of communication you have to have with your children. There's different types of communication that you have to have on point with your managing brokers and, you know, teammates that you're working with. But it's really interesting is that there's a place that can happen sometimes where we lose trust or we lose the effectiveness of the relationship that we've built with these people. And it's an interesting thing when it happens. A lot of us don't know what to do. We kind of fumble around on it. You know, if it's a client, I watch a lot of agents out there that are like, okay, I'm just going to overwhelm them with data and things like that right now so that they can see that I really care, or I'm going to show up a little bit different and really be on point for this stuff so that they know that I'm there. Or some of you go, you know what? I'm going to kick in part of my commission because I know I made a mistake and I'm going to solve it that way. And if they're not having to pay me as much, this will make it okay, right? Like that'll build like. I've seen it all. I've seen it all over the years when either maybe we drop the ball a little bit, when there's a mistake that's made. And the biggest thing that and this came out of a coaching call I was having the other day, Matt, where I had an agent that I coach. She had recommended some vendors to come and do work on the house. Those vendors completely dropped the ball. As those vendors dropped the ball, the client, you could tell, didn't want any advice from this agent anymore. Like any advice, like just was like, hey, thank you. You've done enough. You've done enough. We're going to continue to move along. And I love the way that she did it because instead of her trying to sugarcoat it, instead of her trying to say, hey, what can I do different? She just said, hey, I want to come over. I'm going to sit down with you. They sat on the front porch and she said, I feel like I have lost your trust as a professional. And I'm like, oh, yes. Like that is the conversation that needs to happen, which the client then answered with, yes, you have lost my trust as my professional. And she said, can I earn that back? Or I'm totally happy to bring somebody else in because we can't work forward without you trusting me or trusting the person that's helping you. Oh my gosh, What an amazing concept.
I mean, these are like, talk about a tough conversation, and we don't want to address it. Our natural, state is to avoid these types of conversations, and we never give ourselves the opportunity to then repair trust. We're just like, well, that's a relationship that I'm a professional relationship, mind you, that I won't be able to get back. Doesn't mean that like a friendship or anything like that is necessarily ruined. But what I find fascinating about this story is it highlights that something as simple as recommending a vendor who may have been great for you over time, all of a sudden can dismantle trust that's been built up over time. It's happened to me before where I've recommended people who then kind of were great before but didn't perform for this client, or I've been on the receiving end of some referrals that like did not pan out. I'm like, oh man, this is terrible. Like, I don't really want any more advice from this friend, but they're still a friend. And then you have this conversation about trust, and it's like, oh, okay. And here's the thing, like when you're in a professional relationship, when you're in this space of guiding somebody, you don't have much time. And if you don't face it, Garrett, then you're going to miss out on the next deal, the referral opportunities and everything. If you don't address this up front and just say, hey, let's have a conversation about it. So I love the way that this person approached it, because the result was good.
I'm going to use her name because I think we're okay. But Joy Oda, I have coached Joy Oda in Honolulu, Hawaii for, oh my gosh, I don't know, 16 years. And she's an incredible realtor. Like, she is somebody that is all in for her clients. She puts deals together. There are deals that she's like, I put this together to this together to this together. And I'm like, how did you do that? She goes, my people trust me. She goes, they trust me. And when I say this is going to be the best situation for you and I can show them all the stuff, they're like, Joy, we're doing it. And so it's important for her that she has that trust and she has that relationship, because it's everything that her business is built off of. And so I think putting it all on the table like that, Matt, you said it, you're 100% correct, is that if you don't head it off fast, if you don't fix it quickly, then it festers. Then it becomes that thing that not only one night are they sleeping on it and going, I'm frustrated right now. It's 2 nights, 3 nights. It's sitting with their spouse at dinner going, I'm so frustrated that that's the way that happened. And I can't believe that that's the way it worked out. And they just keep talking about it. And then the worst part is when it doesn't take very much, when someone says, hey, how's your home sale going? For someone to go, it's good, but we had this really unfortunate situation. The vendor that my realtor recommended screwed some stuff up. It set us back. We're having to repair that now. That is damaging stuff that you don't want roaming around out there. And it's not something that has to be. You can fix this by being very vulnerable, having a very tough conversation and putting it out there. But if you're building a referral relationship business, you have to be up for having some of these tough conversations when things maybe don't go just right. And I'll add this in, Matt. Like, I would say the number one place that I have seen realtors stumble into this right now, and it's really not their fault, staging. Staging is one that I'm watching happen over and over again. Stagers were not prepared to have homes stay on the market as long as they're staying on right now. Realtors made promises to their clients that they would have that home professionally staged. Not only are they having to eat the cost and trying to make a decision of, do we keep the staging in the house or do we pull it out right now? But stagers, I have run into so many times, are running out of furniture. And so all of a sudden you're getting this cheap rental furniture with a slip cover over the top of it. And the client's going like, I don't know, we probably should have left our own furniture in here. Like, this doesn't look that great. And they're right. It doesn't look that great because the stagers were never prepared to be handling this. They were used to throwing furniture in, house goes under contract, rip the furniture out of there, moving on to the next house. And that was a business model they got themselves into here. And that's kind of broken a little bit. And I'm finding that's a space right now that's bringing a lot of weird energy. People are having to do a lot of apologizing. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll have the stager come back in and they'll bring some different furniture and we'll switch it up. We'll fix it around a little bit. Sorry for that, I know. And it's one of those things that you got to be careful as you go through this process because any of that stuff will fester very much.
Man, it's a good point on the staging thing, because that is, many are like, oh yeah, I just had my home hit that 30 days and that's the contract that we had and all that kind of stuff. And obviously you can protect trust by having a plan up front and looking at all the potential things that could be happening, because it shouldn't be a surprise. It's interesting as I look at some of the listings, as I work with clients around the country, and they're like, hey, I'm having trouble with this listing. We pull it up and we look at this thing. And I look at the comparables and I say, well, it seems like a lot of other people are having this extended time on market as well. So it shouldn't be a surprise that we've gotten to this point. And relating it to the last episode where you're talking about your neighbor and the buying process, obviously that would have been better if there was things done up front to so that we can handle these things better. However, when it gets to the point where now we have this potential breakdown of trust, and even looking back at that situation from the last episode, the first step in repairing this trust is you as the professional needs to make the first move. Because if you're now letting it be up to the client to make either a move to have a conversation about trust or to handle whatever it is that maybe caused the trust breakdown, it's going to further widen the gap. It's like you have a little crack and they're just jamming a wedge in there and just starting to hammer it in to make that crack even larger if you don't come to the table and just have the conversation up front. And you don't have to have the answers. I think that's one of the biggest fears, Garrett, around this is, well, I may not have a solution yet. Okay, be honest. Tell them that. Oh, but that's going to make them trust me even less. Maybe, or maybe not, because you're being honest, you're being open, and you're saying, hey, we're going to solve this. Because remember, none of this stuff is outrageously urgent that needs to be solved in the next hour. Usually those are fires that you guys handle together. Things like a staging issue or a snafu with an inspector, or, hey, we lost out on this house, which is a major one. Talk about something that can really dismantle some trust. But if you go back and you talk about, hey, let's talk about the situation and let's talk about how we're going to take the next steps going forward and work together, the trust comes back together a lot faster, versus if you let it sit out there, Garrett, and you don't make the first move, we're going to end up with, like, you might as well end the professional relationship almost.
Well, here's what happens. It starts to fester. So, like, there's the little thing that kind of kicked it off that probably should have been addressed, but we didn't address it. And by the way, this isn't just about real estate that we're talking about here. This is any relationship you've ever had with anybody. What happens is there's one little thing that happens it's an annoyance. And we could have addressed it. We could have had the conversation, but it's like, it's not that big. It'll kind of go away. We don't have to worry about it. But it's still in the back of our head. And then all of a sudden we have another little thing that pops up. Maybe it's a little bit bigger. And we go, ooh, it's not just that. It's that and that. Like we're now thinking about both these things, and they compound the energy behind it. And if you've ever watched somebody blow up and just lose their shit, like just lose it, like, and you're like, you are overreacting. You are like, this isn't, they're overreacting because they're thinking about all the stuff that happened over the last 2 years that have just been like, when I used you back then, this happened. When I used you here, this happened. When I used you here, this happened. And all together is an absolute disaster. But they all could have been handled. And if that first one was handled correctly, the second one probably wouldn't hold as much weight if it actually happened again. So it's not an easy thing to slow down and have these conversations. And I think it's a lot of where if you look at any amazing relationships, work or outside of work, it always comes back to good communication, hands down, every single time. When you can have those tough conversations, when you can put it and you can also be very honest with people, it brings incredible relationships to the table. When there's little sneaky things or things aren't being addressed or we're not handling what we need to be handling, it just builds and builds and builds. It compounds every single day. It's got compounding interest. It just keeps adding on to it every single day. And then all of a sudden we have a massive problem. And you don't go into a restaurant and hate a restaurant the first time. But when you go back and you have one experience and then you have another little experience, and you have another little experience, and there's a point there where you can be like, guys, do you notice that this is happening every single time. But what it then turns into is a horrible Google review at some point when someone goes, you know what, I'm going to tell you about all my experiences of going to this restaurant. It just builds and festers until there's that one time that pushes it over the top. And when it pushes it over the top, oh, hang on, you're going to get it all. And that's the challenge.
The compounding interest is like the best picture of this too, because that thing that pushes it over the top might be an innocent thing that happens. It's not even that big of a deal, but because of this history that we've had, all of a sudden it's a massive problem. It could be as little as like, well, the inspector messed up, right? No, then we had to deal with the problem with these quotes that came in. And then you showed up 2 minutes late. 2 minutes. And everything broke down, right?
But now, Matt, you're lumped into these things that maybe were not your cause. You had nothing to do with them. It was their experience of the real estate transaction. But because you didn't handle your thing over here, when that review goes out, when they talk about their experience of using you as a real estate agent, you get it all. Like it is all yours now.
Well, and this goes into how we communicate as well in these situations, because most people will be defensive. Well, it wasn't my fault. It was the stager's fault. I can't believe the inspector did that. He's never done that before. Or I don't understand why this person didn't show, because they've always showed up for me. You know, I'm surprised that they didn't make the call back. And when you start to get defensive, it just solidifies your place in that it is now you versus them, or them versus you, right? It just solidifies that, like, yes, I know. And this is why I don't trust you, because you're defending this action now as if it wasn't your fault. And it's not that they're casting blame. Yeah. A loss of trust doesn't mean that they blame you for what happened. It just means you are tied into that situation, which means you were a component in this not functioning the way that the expectation was set. Therefore, the entire thing has lost trust. But if we want to stand apart, this is where we go and say, hey, I know this happened. I'm sorry. You know, you just address it and you say, how are we going to work through this? You work together to move forward instead of trying to defend your position of being right or not wrong or whatever it is, because there's not even any point in that. It's not going to save the bad Google review. It's not going to protect that from not happening.
Sometimes, Matt, just acknowledging that that was not the outcome you wanted to have before they get a chance to acknowledge that that was not the outcome that you wanted to have or they wanted to have. Like just sitting there and saying, like, you know what, I this is a stager I've used many, many, many times. I've never had this happen before, but I want you to know I'm not happy with what we're getting from them right now. And I'm looking for other solutions. I'm looking for other options. You know, hell, I might even be buying a couch to make sure that we can have the right couch in this room here. You know, knowing that you have acknowledged that there's a problem instead of kind of just trying to ignore it or push it under the rug, or hopefully it's just going to be okay. Sometimes you just need to get ahead of it and ask some questions and see if they're for, like Joy saying, I feel like I've lost your trust.
Yeah.
And I acknowledge it.
It changes everything, because if you get ahead of it, then the client may not look at you the way that you think they're looking at you. They may not be like, oh, I understand and I appreciate you bringing that, and I'm looking forward to you solving this for me, which means, oh, sweet, trust, still intact. I still got it. Like, we can move forward together. Like, I can still guide them through this transaction. And I'll leave it. There's an experience I had at one point. I'm not going to go into details on it, but like, I was expecting a certain kind of process. Now, we still completed whatever we needed to complete it with this. I was expecting a different process, and it didn't go that way. And so therefore, that person who's still a friend, and I still communicate with them, and they're still awesome people, I probably am not going to look to them first to do business for this certain thing, because it just didn't go the way I expected, and no one ever had a conversation with me about it. Even when I said, like, why is this not moving the way? Because there's signs. There's always signs of a breakdown in trust. It's either they're communicating with you a little bit more often, they're checking in, they're asking questions. And instead of you saying, why are they reaching out to me first? You go, oh gosh, this annoying client that I just have to keep answering. That is the beginning of a breakdown in trust that we need to address, because whatever their expectations are, even if they're unspoken expectations, they are very real for them. And as the professional, we need to make sure that we're paying attention to those things and addressing them and resetting expectations if necessary. And if we can't, then maybe it's not the right professional relationship, which is okay too. But you got to start to notice the signs, because otherwise it's just going to sit out there as, all right, this person's never going to do business with me again.
Well, when you look at like hiring a professional into your world, the reason we hire professionals is so we can let go. Like we can like say, okay, I don't need to worry about that. You hire a professional attorney because you're like, they've got that handled, they've got it taken care of. You hire a professional. Again, I'm having a fence going to be built here very soon. I'm like, send me photos of all your fences you built. And I've actually had a chance to talk to the neighbors down the street. And I know I don't have to micromanage that guy. There was a gentleman we have and gave us a quote. And I even had to ask my neighbor, I said, we're not using the guy who did your front fence, right? Because like, if that guy was going to build our entire fence, like I'm going to be out there micromanaging the entire thing, watching over it all, because I don't trust that it's going to be done the right way. I don't trust that we're going to get the results that we want. So Matt, when you were saying there are signs you can start to see when that communication is starting to break down or what's happening, micromanaging, I think, them being involved in lots of stuff, trying to get their hands into everything, not letting you have your process when they're trying to take control of the process. These are all signs that there's a breakdown in here somewhere where they don't feel like unless they're involved, they're going to get to where they want to go. It's a great time just to slow things down and say, hey, like, let's ground something here real quick. I want to make sure that we're on the same page. I want to make sure that you trust what I'm bringing to the table, how I'm going to perform for you to get you the results that you want. And Matt, this goes back to the customer service calls. I think so much stuff can be handled way up front just through good customer service calls, which I'm still amazed. Had a coaching call yesterday, really good agent. He goes like, I'm not doing them right now. I'm like, what a missed opportunity. Because when you sit down with somebody, and we have our format that we have for these, which is gear that we like to use, which is goals, environment, actions, and the road ahead as we were working with these people and doing these customer service calls. And when you get that chance to sit down with them every week and say, okay, let's go back to where we're going. Let's go back to what is the goals that we have in front of us right now? What are the actions that we're taking to help you get there? Sorry, the environment that we're dealing with. What are the actions that we're helping you to accomplish those goals in this environment? And then what is the road ahead? You have this ability to make sure that they go, Matt knows exactly what's going on. He knows exactly what's happening right now. And I trust him that he's taking care of us. If we're missing any of those things, there's usually that piece of like, I don't think Matt knows what we're trying to accomplish. So I got to watch everything that's going on. And that's a bad situation to be in when you find yourself there. So you can fix this. Customer service calls and what I just said is one way that you can at least try to stay ahead of it.
Yeah. Oh, customer service calls. And if you haven't been then starting to, a lot of people will say, well, on the next deal, I'll get into the habit of doing that. It's like, you may want to start doing that now because trust could be breaking down. And so heading it on up front. And also if trust is broken to the point where maybe the professional relationship is ending here, another way that you can build trust over time or rebuild it is continue to show up a little bit better for the next client. Because I think a lot of people get into this personal like attacks when it comes to trust. And when trust breaks down from a business perspective, a relationship isn't lost. A transaction is potentially lost. A business partnership is potentially lost, but a relationship is not fully lost if we don't carry this weight of, oh my gosh, that person's terrible, right? And one of the things you got to do is, one, forgive yourself for whatever may have been done, or forgive the situation, forgive the vendor, because maybe it wasn't your fault. That's fine. You don't have to say it was your fault, but you can at least acknowledge and empathize. So you forgive, and then you move on and you say, I'm going to perform better for the next one. And maybe that person who trust broke down with starts to see you performing a lot better. They start to hear that the restaurant is actually better than it ever has been, right? They start to hear the stories of all the successes and they're like, maybe I am going to come back and try, Garrett's, gumbo again. I don't know. I was trying to find something that was alliteration. I was trying to find alliteration.
I'm going to learn how to make gumbo just for you, Matt.
It wasn't very successful, but maybe the gumbo will be successful though.
Well, First
And they
attempt.
come back, and now trust starts to get rebuilt. And so I think when we think about this, it's not complicated. It's not like we have a whole laundry list of things you can do. It's communication at its core, and it starts with you being the first mover and saying, hey, we need to have this conversation, using preventative maintenance like the customer service calls, and moving on without emotion, moving on to the next stage, whatever the result is, because sometimes you can do everything you want and maybe the client doesn't want to move forward, and that's okay. You say, what can I do to make sure that they have the best experience possible moving forward, even if it's not going to be with me?
And that goes back to what Joy said at the very end was, if the best solution so that you can have trust in the person who's taking care of you is to have me step aside and we bring in somebody else right now, I'm okay with that. And for me, it's like that put the customer first. It wasn't about one more transaction I can close. It wasn't about how do I get this sale to come together so I got my paycheck. It was very simple to what is the best outcome for this person right now? And if the trust is broken around such an important thing, I need to step out because it might not be repairable. And I actually think opening up that door, even if, let's say, that client said, and I don't know the outcome of this yet. I don't know if the client said, hey, let's bring in somebody else. But even if the client did, I would be so damn impressed with the professional that was standing in front of me that said, you know what? Obviously this has happened. Your final result on this is the most important thing to me. So I'm going to make sure we're going to make that happen for you. Believe me, you just won all my trust of who you are as a human and how you want to take care of me back. And to have another professional come in, whether you fully step out or you're still walking along kind of just on the outskirts right now, making sure it's done right, winning all day long, winning.
And that saves the relationship. May not save the transaction for you. It saves the relationship, and it certainly will save the negative Google review, because most times you don't see people then after someone's come up with a solution is like, okay, we're going to move on. We're not going to work together. They don't then go and bash you online, right? It doesn't happen. And so it's a win-win for you as a professional to address it. Like, you either are not going to have the deal and save the relationship, or you're going to do both of those things. You're going to still have the deal and the relationship. But if you don't address it, you're at risk of losing both of those things. And that's what you don't want to have.
100%.
So,
Well,
I appreciate it, man. This is a good one.
Yeah, nice little short one. I feel that I think we covered everything we want to cover on this. So with everybody that is now listening, still listening, if you don't have your business planning set up and ready to go for this year, we have that coming up again. October 22nd is when we are kicking it off. Well before that, though, go to 10tenths.co, and you will find our website there. You'll find all the places you need to go to. And then again, what I'm really excited about is anybody who joins us for business planning is actually going to get access into our 11 Circle and our bigger piece that we have going on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't get a chance to see unless you come and join us. You're going to get a little chance to see what that's all about, and it's going to be part of your business planning, which I'm really excited to be able to show everybody, as well as get you an incredible business plan. So Matt, with that being said, thank you, sir. Always love our episodes. What are we at? I mean, I know we're at, like, we've been doing this for a long time now. We were just joking, like 7 years that we've been making episodes.
Yeah.
Something crazy. 2019, I think, is when we fired off.
We launched the prior podcast January 2019. Obviously, we started in the fall of 2018, and so as we're in the fall of 2025, that's 7 years of podcasting and everything, and we're now at episode 141 of this podcast, which I think pulls us over 700 all time, something like that, which is pretty incredible, man.
So just want to say thank you to you, Matt.
Thank you.
Fun journey. Keep this thing going. And to all of you out there, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. If you got something great out of this, share it. If you're not subscribed on YouTube, please go to YouTube. Subscribe to us there. It's totally free. It totally helps us build this podcast, get it out to more people, share more of our knowledge with all of you. And we'll be back with more episodes soon. Thanks, guys.
Take care, everybody.